so today I've got my fall sweater on, I've got my fall coffee cup, which apparently I only own one fall coffee mug. Who even am I? And we're gonna be doing a full face drugstore fall makeup look. It is a new thing called drawl. Not sure if you've heard of it. So my two favorite things combined, drugstore makeup and fall. Kind of a combination of some of my favorite drugstore makeup, a couple new things I'm testing, and just some things I'm retrying. Hope you guys enjoy. If you do while you're watching, you can give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, I upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. But I love you guys. It's not the end of the video. Let's get into it. So like I said, for the products I'm using in today's video, it's kind of a mix of products that I know I love, a couple first impressions, and then some just like retesting. So just kind of a combo of it all today. So I'm going to retry the Revlon Prime Plus Perfecting and Smoothing Primer. This one I've tried a couple times so far. And it's just one of those that, you know, I just feel like with primers, you got to try them more than a few times. Some primers, like smoothing primers, you kind of know right off the bat if they're doing something, but other ones you kind of got to test. And this one is pretty sticky, like tacky. Then it kind of dries down into more of just like a smoothing feel. It has hyaluronic acid in it and vitamin B5. For foundation today, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Superstay 24 Hour Full Coverage Foundation. I've been really into matte foundations lately. This one is the shade 102, which is way too light for me. When I first tested this, I think it was a year or two ago, I really didn't like it. And then I retested it. I don't even know the timing, you guys. Whenever I more recently retested it, maybe like 6 months ago or so, I don't know. I think it was in another like retrying makeup, shop my stash kind of video or something. Whenever I retested it, I didn't have as poor of an experience with it. So now this is my second, I think, retry. Now that I have a darker shade, which I ordered online, which clearly is way too dark. So I'm somewhere in between these two shades. This is the shade 102. This is 118, light beige. There's not that many shades in between 102 and light beige. I think there's like a couple. Their numbers just kind of jump, but I'm definitely going to have to mix these two shades on my face today. And if I like how this foundation looks on my skin today, I'll just try and order or go in person and get like the correct shade. And I have this new sponge from Kokie to try. It's their Cover and Conceal Beauty Sponge. I did dampen it and I'm excited to try this because holy crap, I was kind of like iffy on this before I dampened it because it was feeling like a tiny bit hard, but this was interesting. As soon as I dampened it, it completely changed like the feel of it, and now it feels extremely soft and bouncy, so I'm very excited to try this sponge. I remember this foundation being a little bit on like the heavy side, especially if you have more normal to dry skin, so I might just do a sponge with it and see how it goes. So I'm gonna mix the two shades on a palette first, not directly on my face. Okay, I kind of just did equal parts of those two shades, so we'll see. Might be a little yellow and dark. Let's add a little more of that lighter shade, shall we? The sponge is feeling very soft. Nice. What is this under here now? What is happening? This sponge is like extremely bouncy and soft. You know what this is reminding me a little bit of? Just because yesterday in my time I was wearing it, is the NARS Soft Matte. A little bit. Yeah, on my skin, just because I remember how thick this one feels with a brush, I'm going to stick with a sponge on the other side. I do need to definitely get a shade. I think I just need like one shade up from this one, so I definitely went too dark. This could probably be my like self-tanner shade. Dries very, very quickly. Besides the shade being a little bit off, it's a little bit too yellow. It looks very similar to the NARS foundation. This one doesn't look quite as good around my nose. It's looking a little bit cakier around my nose area than the NARS one does, but applied with a sponge, it's looking pretty good for a matte foundation on my skin. I really like how it went on my forehead. I still got full coverage with the sponge. The NARS one in, you know, this area of my face looks better, but it looks good, and I'm really enjoying this sponge. For concealer, we're going to use one of my all-time favorites from the drugstore. I mentioned this in my Buy This Not That video. Instead of Tarte Shape Tape, just buy this. This is the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover in the shade Porcelain. I wanted to use this one so I can show you just how little you need. I am going to try it though with a sponge because why not? We already have it out and it's a new one, so I kind of want to try it with the sponge, so I might need a little bit more than usual. Usually when I use a sponge for under eye concealer, I need a little bit more because it tends to like soak it up a little bit more than a brush. But when I use a brush with this, I go like this. I need like that much. So maybe we'll start with that much with a sponge and see, but I have a feeling I'll probably need to add a little bit more. Maybe not. Maybe not. So I'm just using the tip of the sponge now. Yeah, I'm gonna add a little bit more because this concealer is full coverage. So I do want to get a little bit more coverage out of it. I, on my under eyes, usually get less coverage if I use a sponge for my under eyes, which is why I almost always use a brush. I feel like with this foundation, I'm getting kind of like a weird, not great blend right here. The powder I'm going to use, though, does wonders for any kind of situation you have going on, so should solve it. Yes, foundation doesn't seem to be like blending well with this concealer. All right, let's use the magic powder, folks, to fix this situation. CoverGirl Clean Fresh. I've mentioned this so many times, but this is just holy grail powder at this point. I use the shade 110 for underneath my eyes, 120 for my face if I am using face powder. With this foundation, since it is already a heavier formula and it's fully matte, I don't think I'm going to be using a face powder today at all, so I'm probably just going to be using 110 for underneath my eyes, but let me apply it and we'll kind of go from there. And to apply the powder, I like to use my Shop Miss A sponge. It's $1.55. You can get it online. Where's this hair coming from? Looks like that's coming out of my chin. It's definitely not. Typically does wonders for my under eyes. Kind of makes any situation just disappear. Looks kind of crazy and light right now. Once I put bronzer and everything else on, it'll blend. Adds like a very nice, soft, kind of airbrushed finish to my face. If I have any excess, I just kind of press it on my cheeks right here. It's all going to come together, but first I'm going to do brows. So I'm going to take one of my current favorite brow products, the Milani Precision Brow in the shade 140 Medium Brown. Such a good brow pencil. I've been using this every single day. Typically, I use my Urban Decay Brow Blade with it, and that's how I get kind of like that fluffy brow look. Today, obviously, I'm not going to be doing that. It's not drugstore. I haven't found a drugstore dupe for that yet. I am on the hunt. Let me know if you have a good brow pen option like that from the drugstore. I've tried the Ardell one. It's not the same. I haven't found a similar drugstore option to that, so let me know if you have found one. This sweater just flies, man. Whenever I move my arm, fuzzies just go flying. I literally always forget to put eye drops in before I do my powder, so then I just hope that I'm not going to drop an eye drop onto the powder and ruin it. Wish me luck. The reason why I love this Milani pencil is the shade is perfect for me. I love that it's a nice medium brown. Also, the formula is just great. It's not too creamy. I love the tip on it. It's like the perfect size. Just overall great drugstore brow pencil. You can't go wrong. So I was looking through all my drugstore bronzers, thinking about which one I wanted to use and mention stuff. One of my favorites is Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. My favorite shade is actually bronzer, not light bronzer. It's less warm. I feel like a lot of us know this one. It's a great formula though, so I did want to just quickly mention this one. But one of my favorite things to do is if you can't find a perfect bronzer shade for you, you can always just get a face powder in a shade that you think is going to work well for your skin tone. So here's Maybelline Fit Me powder in the shade 310. I haven't done this in a while, so I do want to go back to the drugstore in person and just see if there's any new shades out there that I can do this with. But this one is just the shade that I currently have and use it as a bronzer. So you can do this no matter obviously what your skin tone is. If there's a shade from the store that is a powder, like a face powder, that will work for your skin tone as bronzer, just, you know, get it and use it as bronzer. A lot of times I find that the formula actually works out better and is easier to blend than some bronzers because it's a face powder. So a lot of times it's going to be a little bit less pigmented, it gives you more room to kind of work with it, and it blends out really easily because it is a face powder, not a bronzer. One of my favorite drugstore blushes is Neutrogena Healthy Skin Blush in the shade 10 Rosy. It is so freaking pretty. Formula of it's great, shade is beautiful. It's a great go with anything kind of blush. So I'm going to take it on this Duo Fiber brush. This is the Sigma F15. I am thinking I want to keep my skin fully matte. I don't know if we're going to do a highlight. I might do a little bit at the end, but I think for now I'm going to skip it and just see how I feel after the eyes. I'm going to use the Wet n Wild Natural Finish Setting Spray Photo Focus. So I love the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Normal setting spray. I accidentally bought the natural finish setting spray, so we're gonna try it today. I am hoping that will stay pretty matte right now. It's looking like it added a little bit of a satin finish, but I think it is still drying down, so we'll give it a couple minutes. But let's go in with the eye primer. I'm going to use another product from Wet n Wild. I like to use this, which technically isn't an eye primer, but I like to use it just as like a base. It's their Liquid Catsuit Liquid Eyeshadow in the shade Camelback. I like this because it conceals everything I need to conceal on my eyes, and I like the shade of it. Also, ColourPop concealer in the shade White is really nice as a base. If you're going into an Ulta, I think they do have that in store. As far as making your eyeshadow like stay on longer, I do think the ColourPop No Filter Concealer does a better job. All right, that setting spray did add a little bit of a glow, so now we're not looking quite as matte. Drugstore eyeshadow that I just think you need in your life. You could do a beautiful fall kind of look with this. Why am I blinding you with these? The e.l.f. bite-sized eyeshadows. I've talked about these so many times though, so I didn't want to do another look, but I just think you need these, okay? They're comparable to like high-end, better than a lot of high-end eyeshadows, but just to switch it up, try something new. I'm gonna try out the LA Girl Break Free eyeshadow palette. You can get this at Ulta. These colors were just obviously screaming fall to me, so we're gonna try these out today. All right, what are we doing? I'm gonna start out by taking this nice kind of neutral light tan shade. Like I said, I'm kind of feeling all matte, especially now that my face is a little bit more dewy, but maybe not. I don't know. Let's see where the wind takes us. Why am I getting... Just got a lot of fallout. The gold shade in this palette looks pretty orange, which is like my pet peeve. On my skin tone at least, I hate when golds look orange, like straight up orange. Just not flattering on my skin tone, but here's another one. Oh, that one looks really orange too. So next I'm going to take this one in the corner. I'm going to film a second video after this that you guys won't see probably for a couple weeks, but I definitely am going to need to take a food break in between. My stomach is growling. Probably gonna have to cut out 45 clips in this video of my stomach growling. That one looks much more orange than it does in the pan. Kind of wanted this look to match my shirt a little bit. These are all pulling very orange, which is interesting because they're not looking, maybe on camera, but in real life they're looking like pretty mauve, not cool tone, but just like kind of more mauve-y and less orange. But let's try this shade in the corner. Yeah. It's just very orange. Let's try and take this deepish purplish brown shade. That one seems to be a bit patchy and almost like disappear a little bit on the eye. Yeah, I don't love the formula of that shade at all. Okay, I do think we need some e.l.f. to the rescue here, so actually I'm going to go in with that shade from the Carnival Candy palette. So I'm going to take this on my finger and just press it on the lid. I'm going to take the lightest shade in this one, that's a little tiny brush, and pull it into my inner corner. So at this point, if I was redoing this, I would say you could 100% pass on the LA Girl palette for where we're at right now and just use these two shades. Wasn't exactly the look I'm going for. I'm still working on it. Hopefully we'll get there, but I definitely wanted kind of more of this tone. So I'm going to actually try and find a, I think like shimmery shade that's around this tone that I can kind of bring in. Anytime a situation is just looking like this, usually a liquid cream shadow does the job because, you know, it's going to adhere to your lid. So we're going to use the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit again, but in the shade Cashmere Love. So this one's more of a cool tone, and I'm hoping that this is going to kind of like add that cool tone effect in. I'm just applying that all over the lid to kind of conceal the lid basically. Typically, I wouldn't apply this kind of cool tone color with this warm of an orange basically in the crease, but you know, this is what we're dealing with. So to kind of bring all of these tones together, I think I'm going to take this gold glitter from Makeup Revolution. It's their glitter balm in the shade Golden Girl. Didn't know we were going for glitter. Remember at one point I thought we were going to be all matte today? Oh, how times have changed. Okay, so basically we're just putting glitter everywhere on my lid. That Wet n Wild underneath probably wasn't super necessary at this point, but I do think it's coming through a little bit though. Okay, that was a wild ride, folks. If I was, you know, redoing this, I would do it totally different, but that's how makeup goes sometimes. I definitely need to add a liner to kind of cover up my lash line right there, so I'm gonna do that. We're gonna use the Wet n Wild Breakup Proof Waterproof Liquid Liner. Really like this one. Lasts well. It is a brush tips, not felt, which I really like. Get a way smoother line with brush tip. This one's nice and black. And I have glitter in my hair. We have glitter everywhere for the next 10 hours. Don't think I want to do a wing. We'll see. For now, I'm just going to keep it at that, but I'm going to do the other side, obviously. For the lower lash line, I'm going to go back with this shade. Glitter in the eyeballs. Then I'm going to take this shade right here on a flat liner brush. And just press that close to my lower lash line and create kind of like a liner with that. Kind of feel like I do want a little bit of waterline eyeliner, so I'm going to take Revlon So Fierce in black, at least on the outer kind of half here, or maybe third, just to kind of define it a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm just going to keep it right there and not bring it all the way across. just keep my eyes a little bit more open looking. So I think I'm gonna layer these two mascaras, just try it out today. I don't think I've layered these before. I realized I had this one already open, so I want to try like playing around with them, layering them. But first I'm gonna do my usual Essence Volume. Actually, I haven't worn false lashes in a while, like I feel like over a month or so, maybe even longer. So all the videos and looks I've done have been without false lashes lately. Let's go in with falsies. This one's Volume Express. Is this the normal falsies? I don't remember it being like this bendy of a wand, but maybe. Back in the day, I used to always use falsies. This mascara, not actual falsies. We're talking all about falsies right now. There's lots of falsies words being thrown around. Okay, so I did have to go in with my Revlon So Fierce just to get a little bit more separation on the outer lashes. I like this one layered with it, but I probably wouldn't like do it every day. Used Revlon So Fierce for my lower lashes today, and now we are going to do lips. So for lips, I'm going to go in with L'Oreal Infallible Paints in the shade Festival, one of my favorites for the fall. Oh my gosh, I forgot how pretty this is. Alright, so this is the final look. Totally different than what I had envisioned before I started filming today's video. I actually like how it turned out. I just didn't know glitter was in the game plan for today, but I like how the makeup turned out. A couple quick thoughts on the new things that I tested. I would pass on the LA Girl palette. I think there are better similar shades to this just out of the ones I tested. Not just because it wasn't what I was going for, but just the formula of some of the shades that I tried. The Maybelline Superstay Foundation, I'm gonna attempt number 3 to get the correct shade in this because it's actually looking pretty good with that CoverGirl powder, kind of using it to blur out my pore area and around my nose because that was, like I said, that kind of one area that wasn't looking great, but using it with the Kokie sponge to apply it, which I love. I'm loving this sponge. Just the initial application, like it's looking really nice. And I wish I hadn't applied that setting spray, not because I don't like the setting spray, but just because I wish my face was a little bit more matte how I was looking before the setting spray. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'll have all the products I used on my face today listed down below in the description box. I always link my jewelry, rings, nail polish. Sweater was actually from ThredUp, so I can't link it for you, but it was originally from Express. But all that info is always down below in the description box if you're wondering about anything. But I love you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video.